Cool.
Welcome to the very first episode of Country with Celine. For this, we have a very special guest. He competed on The Voice. He appeared on the TV show Songland, but you may also have heard of him after his cover of Life is Good went viral. Everyone welcome Mr. Sam James.
I'm too turned up. Virgil got a paddock on my wrist going nuts.
First off, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. And how have you been doing?
I've been great. It's the heated climate right now in the world, but we're all making it through, and we're here another day, and it's a new year, and hopefully some new bright things are on the horizon. So
hopefully, yeah. 2020 has been such an odd year, like with COVID-19 and everything that happened. But how have you been keeping busy during the whole pandemic? Obviously, putting out a lot of covers.
Yeah, I've been putting out a lot of content, like, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, like all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of like, I'm a songwriter, so, I write for BMG, which is a publishing company. My main office is out of Nashville. So I've actually been like quarantining the entire year in my Massachusetts house in the States, but I've only been in Nashville once during the pandemic, and I drove down. It was the worst.
No, it's hard to go anywhere now with this pandemic going on. No one wants you anywhere.
No, I don't want, and honestly, for me personally, like, I don't want to be anywhere. So it's good, until this is all over and everybody's vaccinated. Like, I'm fine. Like, I built the very beginning of the pandemic, I had started building out a studio in Massachusetts. So it's a small little studio at home in Massachusetts, but it's done now. So I just been working here. We write, we do a lot of Zoom.
Yeah, that's what everyone's been doing now, a lot of Zoom. Yeah. Just going back, Life is Good, that cover of yours just went completely viral. And even here in Toronto, like Kiss 92.5 was playing it, Z was playing it. Like, what did you expect? Like, did you really think that it was going to go so big?
No, I had no idea. Like, that was so strange. Like, so the Toronto thing made sense to me because it's Drake. And, Drake is like the junior prime minister of Canada, correct? So that made a little bit more sense that it like picked up really quickly up in Canada. But I didn't know that like Barstool Sports and Complex and like a bunch of like huge media outlets started picking it up and sharing it, and then it started going nuts. And that was kind of like I threw it up there because it was like, this is cool, and I just threw it on the internet, and I didn't have like wild expectations like that. Like, I thought like people would see it, obviously, but I was just like, oh, whatever. And then here you go a year later, and it's like, I started with no online presence whatsoever. Like, I really was not active in that. And then a year later, it's like, I don't know. It's weird. I have fans. It's strange.
Yeah, you just blew up. I remember I was looking at one of your posts, and it was like you had 10K followers, and all of a sudden now you're at like 160, I believe. Like, that's crazy within a year.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild. I feel like it's been exciting, it's a lot of like more, like, I have some bigger things in the works, which is great. And hopefully I can get on the road soon. Like, especially up where you are in Canada, I get like a million messages every week that are like, when are you coming to Toronto? I'm like, I don't know. When are you guys going to let us back in?
I know probably won't be for a while though. But has Drake or Future, have they reached out? Because I know I saw one of your posts that DJ Khaled messaged you after you posted your cover of Pop Star.
I'm a pop star, not a doctor. Bitches calling my phone like I'm locked up nonstop. From the plane to the fucking helicopter, yeah. Cops pulling up like I'm giving drugs. Nah. I'm a pop star, not a doctor.
It's really funny. It's like some artists are like just more, it's just personalities, and like it's not like so when I do certain covers, like DJ Khaled's reached out, and Nicki Minaj, and Jack Harlow, and P. Diddy, which was really cool because that was like my whole childhood, so I was like super stoked about that. And who else is some cool? Oh, DaBaby hits me every time I do something with him on. He's always hitting me. He's like the nicest guy. Drake didn't, I don't know, like Drake's like, if you look at his socials though, I never expected him to hit us because it's like, he's not like, he doesn't really share other people's stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, unless he's involved directly with it, you know, it's not like, it's one of those things, but I know for a fact that he's seen it. So.
Oh, he definitely has seen it. Yeah.
I know that I have very good information that he's seen it multiple times. So
he definitely jammed up to it too.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm glad that he saw it. So.
Well, speaking of covers that you've done, you co-wrote a song named Faith, which was sung by Dolly Parton. Now in country music, that's huge for Dolly Parton to sing your song. I mean, just what was that experience like?
I mean, that's pretty surreal because, first of all, like getting Dolly on a dance record, because it was Dolly Parton and Mr. Probs and Galantis, which is like a huge EDM act. And I remember literally like, it was just my boy Saint, who's one of the producers, and my boy Eric, who's one of the producers, and me on a Zoom. And it was so strange. And this was pre-COVID that we did this, but they were in LA and I was in Nashville. And they were like, hey, we have this idea, this John Hyatt song, we want to flip it and change some lyrics, and do you want to help? Cool. So I ended up cutting the original vocal for it, and David works with Galantis and Saint, and he showed it to Galantis. They loved it. They wanted to like beef up the production. And I was like, oh, that's dope. Cool. We'll have like a dance record, you know, like that's always fun. And Saint calls me like a week later and he's like, yo, I'm going to get Dolly Parton on this song. And I was like, you're out of your freaking mind that you're not going to get Dolly Parton. Now he works for Atlantic Records. It's not like he doesn't have the pull, but it's like, I was like, dude, you're not going to get Dolly Parton on a dance record. Like I literally was dying laughing at him. He called me back the next week. I'm coming to Nashville. Are you there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm meeting with Dolly. I'm like, you're out of your mind. So it kind of like Saint drove that whole thing. He's a genius, and he made it work.
When you don't know who you are, I will find you so easily. Don't you worry, whenever you need me, have a little faith in me.
And let me tell you, she's an absolute treasure. I've been on some like conference calls with her and stuff, and she's just really great. And she was awesome through the process. Like, cause you know, behind the scenes, you hear a lot of like, oh, some artists are difficult, some artists are not. And like getting him to do the video and getting him to do all this stuff. She was like so easy.
That was a really good choice of you guys getting Dolly Parton. Like that song is such a summertime vibing song. And her singing it is just like, Dolly Parton's on this? Like, she's so country. This is so dance, but perfect mix. The perfect mix.
Yeah, she crushed it. She crushed it. I mean, she always does. She's Dolly Parton. If there's one thing Dolly does is she delivers. Like, yeah. She knows how to deliver. That's what she does. That's what Dolly does.
I had to ask you this question. I know you were on The Voice a couple years back. I think it was about
a couple of years, like almost
8 years back. 8 years back. Yeah.
Almost 9 years ago.
9 years ago. Okay, so I know that everyone who watches it, it's a TV show to us when we watch it, but really it's a competition. So how did you handle that pressure being on The Voice?
The Voice was honestly, going back to it, it was so stressful. Like I was super, super young, first of all. And like, I didn't really know, I grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts. Like it's a city, but everybody kind of knows everybody, you know? And it's like very hometown feel. It's blue collar industrial, you know? So it's like, it's hard to explain. Like I had never been to LA and like, I had never even been to Los Angeles. So it's like, very strange. Yeah, it was like, and having like a million cameras around you all the time, and like, and what you don't know is like, you see me on the show up until like, top 20 or whatever it is, where I made it, but I was there for 3 months filming that show. So it's like, it was a lot. Like I was really homesick a lot, and like, I just like, I don't know, because it is a competition. I made good friends on the show, and that's always great, but like you're sequestered in the hotel, so you can't leave, which really sucks. And and it was just, I don't know, it was a lot of pressure. Looking back on it, I put too much pressure on myself for something. It was, at the time, it was like the biggest moment of my life, so looking back, I laugh, but it's, little young Sam, like, he didn't know any better.
Well, I know that you were also on Adam Levine's team, so just
out
of curiosity, do you guys still keep in contact?
That's probably like the number one question that everybody asks me, but it's what's so funny is, like, even though I was there for 3 months, like, I have had such limited interaction with Adam Levine.
Really?
Like, they really keep you apart. They do a really good job of making it look like you're around each other a ton, but because of bias and everything like that, they don't want the coaches to have a bias. They don't really want them to know your personality until you get like in that top 10 range where you like that whole thing. But I didn't make it that far, so I don't really know. But no, I bet if I saw Adam Levine now, he might recognize me for the covers on the internet, but he would never remember that I did the voice.
Yeah, I would never have thought that if I didn't ask that. That's crazy.
Yeah, like, he probably knows me. He probably maybe knows me now from writing songs for bigger artists and from being on Instagram. But I doubt that he would remember me from the voice.
Well, who's the biggest artist that you've written for? Don't say Dolly Parton. That doesn't count.
Well, I mean, I don't know, like, she's a legend, so that's like a whole nother category. Like, that's just like, that was really special to me because it's so rare that, who knows, like, she's getting older and, like, who knows if she's going to stop making music, so that was really special to me. Galantis is big. I wrote a lot of songs and did a lot of work with BB Rexa. Yeah, we actually, last year, the latest thing that we did was that movie Abominable. It was this big animated movie on DreamWorks, and we did the theme music for that. So I love BB. We do a lot of stuff together.
But after your time on The Voice, you appeared on the TV show called Songland, and you pitched your song Shine Down to John Legend, where he didn't think that it was more so his type, but you did end up getting a lot of feedback from the artists that were there. What have you taken away from that experience?
That was a cool experience. That was kind of out of nowhere, that the producers of that show, like, so how that came about is, because I write songs for a living now, it's the same producers of The Voice. Songland are the same producers. So I had written a song for Spencer Baker, who is a finalist on The Voice, 2 years ago this season, right when I was did Songland. This song called Old Soul. I love that song. And she sang it on the show, and it did, like, was #1 at country for iTunes and Apple and Amazon and all that stuff. And then they were like, you should do Songland. And I was like, we're not going to do this. We're not going down this road again. I'm not doing any more reality TV. I'm done with that part of my life. And they laughed, and then they didn't ask me again. But the show wasn't so new, and they were still trying to get it funded and, like, all the stuff. So it was really early anyway. Then, like, 6 months later, the casting director calls me, and she's like, hey, do you have any more country songs? I'm like, yeah, I write them every day. And she's like, send me a couple. And I was like, okay, cool. So I sent her Shine Down was one of them. And she called me back like an hour later, and she was like, hey, can you be in LA on Friday? This was Wednesday. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess I could. I'm in Nashville. And she's like, all right, just do Songland. You're going to have fun. Like, it will be fun. You're going to pitch a song to an artist. And I'm like, this doesn't really sound fun to me, but I'll go, And it was a ton of fun. I had the best. I had an awesome time doing it. They don't tell you who you're pitching to. Mm-hmm. So this is, like, where the disconnect is on that show. Like, every day I pitch songs to artists, or I'm working with artists, writing music, and you tailor music for artists, like, specifically. So you know, I've got probably 20 other songs I would have pitched John Legend before I pitched him that song, because that's just not up his alley.
Yeah, and when I was watching the episode, John Legend, he did his own little tweak on it, and that was John Legend, the way he sang it, right? Like yours,
yeah, exactly.
I still really like that country version of Shine Down.
Yeah, so I was like, cool. Like, so after that show, I was like, oh, well, that was a cool experience, and you know what? I'll just put the song out on my own, because why not, right? And so I threw that out there, and then that went like a little bit viral, and it was like kind of cool, and it was like top 10 at country iTunes, and it charted like on New Country Billboard, which was hilarious, and like it just, you know, so it was a really good experience, like,
yeah,
you know, overall, and it gave me a little more, like, it was cool. Like, people in Nashville started to recognize me a little bit more, which is good. Like, my name anyway for writing. And so that was good. It was a good experience.
Well, you seem to have a knack for music. Was that something that you were always surrounded by?
Yeah, my dad's a musician. I mean, he's a pharmacist, but he's a
musician on the side.
I grew up with him, like, constantly, like, playing piano and writing songs and singing me songs, and like, I don't know, it's just always in my house. Like, there was never a point in time when I would go home where it wasn't like Bob Dylan on this stereo, or Neil Young, or REM, or, you know, like, just tons of music all over the place. So
that's a good environment to be surrounded by. And look at you now. Sure. Yeah. So you've covered a lot of songs, and you've written songs for other artists, and you've released songs on your own. But Words to Life, I would just like to know, what inspired you to write that song?
That was so many years ago too. Like, I actually wrote and recorded that, like, oh my God, 6 years ago. And like, that's when I wrote it and recorded it for the first time. And obviously it made tweaks before it came out, and it's been out for a while, that song. But Words to Life, like, that song was, I remember like being in this really crappy hotel in LA, and with my buddy Saint, who I told you about with the Dolly record, and my other buddy Nana's a really interesting character. He's my wild African friend. He just wrote a bunch of the songs for that Lion King Beyonce album. Yeah, he's awesome. So we were just the three of us, and we were just kind of like painting a picture with a song, and like talking about, like, you know, bringing like your words, like, what if your words could like come to life, and like, you know, like everything you spoke like was more, I don't know, maybe we were high, I can't remember exactly like how it came about, but I started with that guitar riff, and it kind of just went from there.
Yeah, well, it was really good. You seem like such a real person. I love this.
This is like, well, first of all, I do this all the time. So like, this is, to me, and also I feel like I'm a Zoom pro now, because it's just the Zoom situation is like a daily for me. Like, sometimes 2 or 3 of these a day. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's easy. You're doing a great job. You know?
Thank you. And so you're a songwriter. I just would like to know, what advice would you give to other songwriters out there who are aspiring to make it into the business?
Write every day.
Write every day?
Doesn't have to be a full song. I think now that I'm a little bit more farther into it, well, during pandemic, I'm not like writing every day, just because there's just too much other stuff going on in the world. Like, it's just not, you know, also too, like, I'm one of those writers that takes a lot of inspiration from like other people and like encounters, and like, I'm pretty social when it comes to that aspect of it. I am like kind of a hermit. I love being in sweatpants and being home, but at the same time, like, once I'm out, I've fully committed to it, and like, I love talking to people and like gathering information. So but for up and coming writers, I say write. And then also, like, the number one thing that I would tell anybody going into any business, not just songwriting, anything involved in music or entertainment, it's all about networking. so you have to get out of your own way. Like, people are nervous. Like, I remember being so scared to leave Worcester. There's no music business in Worcester, Massachusetts. Like, I could write the next, the greatest album our generation's ever going to hear, but you know who's going to hear it? Just people in the bar in Worcester. Like, unless you leave, So I would say write as much as you can on a daily, like, I would say at least 3 or 4 times a week. Sit down and really write, not just like fuck around with some little ideas, but actually like sit down and like put pen to paper, and get out of your comfort zone and go and meet people. Like, it's really important. Like, there's so many songwriters I know that like, there's different companies like BMI and ASCAP and CSAC that collect royalties for us. Those are free. You don't have to be a published writer to sign up for that. And they have a lot of resources. Like, before I was published, I would go to like speed songwriting. They call it like speed dating for songwriters in New York. I would drive down there at 3 hours to go to this like speed dating songwriter thing, just hosted by BMI, just to meet other writers and play people's songs and stuff. And it's free, but like, if you don't, you have to work at it. Like, no one's just going to discover your songs. I guess like on the internet they could, but you still have to network. Like, no one really cares. Like, there's just the internet now is like inundated with music. Spotify gets like, I think 50 to 75,000 songs a week that they process through Spotify. Like,
you can put songs on Spotify. Like,
everybody does it. It's free. You can easily do. It's like $10 or something, like, to put music on the internet. So, everybody can do it. You could go in your kitchen right now and record yourself cooking and put it on Spotify. Like, it would be there. So it's not you have to make the connections. And there's just like, I feel like it's like high school. Like, there's like a group of people in each market that really like run the show, and you got to get to know them and, get out there. I think that the biggest for creatives, like people that are very creative and that want to work in a creative field, I think the biggest obstacle is themselves. That's what I've come to find. Like, sometimes people I've met people that are so fucking talented, like just so talented, more talented than I'll ever be. That helps too, by the way, to have a little talent, but they write things that are so prolific, and I listen to the lyrics and I'm like, oh my God, like, this is just, I would have never come up with it. It's too crazy and too out there and too beautiful. Like, this is just not my lane. But they can't get out of their own way. They don't want to, they just, they're stuck. Like, that era is just over. Mm-hmm. Where you can be like a recluse and just kind of turn in things. It just doesn't work like that anymore. Like, you just have to go out and get it. So
you really have to step out of your comfort zone if you want to achieve anything in life.
Yeah. Be uncomfortable at least once a day. That's good advice.
I like that advice. I'm going to take that and use it.
Yeah.
And just before you go, Sam, I just have to know, how do you keep this so perfect? Like, in all of your videos, it looks so perfect.
It's just, well, the first few videos I could actually get a goddamn haircut. And like, I had this girl in Nashville, it was like, I mean, okay, I am a little bit frivolous. Like, I like to do dumb shit with money, but like, this was like one expense that it was never going to go away. Like, I loved it. I had this girl in Nashville at this amazing barbershop. You go in and like, they give you a glass of whiskey and then they put hot towels on your face. And it's like a dude spa,
That's like top notch.
Yeah. And that's like, you can see the decline of my beard throughout the pandemic, because it's like, now I'm doing it myself and it's just a little trimming. But this girl, man, let me tell you, she was the best.
She lines it all up properly.
Oh, just like the best. And like, would you like get you laid back and they trim it all up for you. And then they do the line it up. And then like the whole haircut experience is great. Like, right now I'm a disaster. So it's like,
Well, hopefully it will open up soon so you can get everything done again and feel all perfect.
It's open, but I'm like I'm just, you know, and I'm in Massachusetts too, but it's like, it's just one of those things, like, I don't know, like I've been trying to limit contact with people as much as possible, and it's just one of those things, you know.
When everything is all said and done and the vaccine is out and everyone can go on about their days, then that's when everyone will start actually living their own life again.
I think we're getting there, you know.
Slowly but surely, yeah.
Yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, but thank you so much for joining me, Sam James, on the very first episode of Crunchy with Celine. It was such an honor to chat, and I hope nothing but the best for you in 2021.
You too, Celine. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Walk 'em down.